Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get us kicked off here, everyone. Thank you very much for attending, as I just mentioned, and welcome to the Changing the Game webinar, where we're going to talk through Workday Extend with both our partners at Workday and ourselves at Intercrown. You're going to be hearing from a variety of speakers as well as some customers today with experience that we're hoping to share, spread knowledge around Extend, and talk about use cases and hopefully jog some ideas, get some good questions and answers flowing. And if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat or put them in the Q&A section, and we will have some time at the end for questions. I'm going to go ahead and go through the agenda briefly. So first, we're going to have Amy talk about an Extend overview. I'm going to briefly talk about Extend in the retail hospitality space. Then we're going to have two customer spotlights, fireside chats with our lovely customer partners, client partners, and then we're going to have a closeout session and maybe some time for Q&A at the end. So with that, I'll kick it over to Amy for the Extend overview.
Right. Thank you, Ford. Hi, everybody. I am Amy Brzee. I sit in Extend product specialist here at Workday. I've been with Workday 6 years, always supporting our platform technologies, and really looking forward to talking a bit more about Extend and some of those industry solutions today. But to get us started, just for those that aren't familiar with what Extend is, as the name suggests, it's a tool to build apps that allows you to extend the Workday platform. So anything that you see in Workday in terms of that look and feel, that can very much be extend. It has this functionality of the Workday UI from pages. A common use case might be around onboarding, especially for bulk onboarding, different type of workers, and having a streamlined onboarding hub. Extending that Workday data model, being able to have model objects inside of Extend. I had a customer that had very complex offers of various equity and deferred compensation and various like targets and bonuses. And when they were giving offer letters that was previously in a different system, they weren't able to house these 50 plus data objects in Workday. They built a form and extend to be able to put those objects in for this complex offer, be able to have it accepted in Workday, route it to Workday Docs, and now they can report and make payments off that, all from extending that model in Workday. And lastly, creating those custom business processes and orchestrations all within inside of one area of Workday. And when I mentioned that Extend is custom app development, still want to make clear that it's still Workday. It is backward compatible and future proof. Custom app doesn't mean custom maintenance cycle. If we go to the next slide, reasons that customers look to why building Extend. I would say the first one I see is really consolidating that technology and consolidating the experience. I had a customer that had vehicle allowances and they had a third party managed service providing all of that. They really look to consolidate the experience of, besides having less money spent on this managed service and having our workers go from Workday to other places to upload documents and request reimbursement, let's put it in Workday. We can control that security all inside of Workday for who's actually able to be a part of this program. So only they get to see this business process. Upload your documents, make the pay in Workday. It's consolidating the experience and the technology. Another area of customers choose in Workday is to respond quickly. As changing world, changing regulations, you can build apps in a matter of days in Workday, which might have taken so much longer to do in other tools, or it might have said, hey, for a quick turnaround, we're going to use these Google Forms and manually input data, exposing a lot of risk. And lastly, innovate, to be able to build solutions that are differently. Instead of your unique retail hospitality space, there's a lot of unique employee benefits we're talking about today that there just aren't tools available. And I'm really excited to hear from Innisfree and Marjack and some of the really great innovations they've done in this place for their employees. Next slide. So Workday Extend, need to update this, but been around since around 2018, a lot of growth post 2020, 2021, close to 3,000 apps today in production. And from a lot of our retail hospitality customers, you're going to be hearing from Marjack today on their employee discount, achieving over 100% ROI in that first year. Your Target has over about 15 different apps for a very large workforce, identical to Workday. So just really trying to consolidate. On cloud, they were able to reduce their contingent onboarding from hours to minutes by streamlining this using hubs I mentioned inside of Workday Extend. And lastly, you might have seen it as one of our forward thinkers as well, but PGA has really great story of reimagining that supplier experience in Workday. Their golfers are suppliers, which are not standard to how you typically think of a supplier, and you don't want to give them an experience that might be a bit more of a traditional supplier. You want to make it really easy, mobile first, make it so their managers can hop on as well to be able to see their payouts, automate all of that, all within inside of Workday, improving that employee experience and that supplier experience for those golfers. Um, Next slide. And we talk about Extend. There is a premium offering of Extend Professional. And for those of you at Rising or caught some updates from Rising, you probably heard a lot about this there. There is the Extend Developer Copilot. So this is using natural language to be able to create code and build Extend apps, really being able to upskill and not just build one app in Extend, but be able to bring it in-house without having to have a unique team of developers. The AI Gateway is APIs delivered by Workday to AI models from Workday, now available in Extend. And we also provide a provisioning of a native AWS integration to Extend with the professional. And lastly, on the next slide, this will be available the first half of next year. This is Workday, a little demo of Workday Developer Copilot. So you see, we are moving from just having generating your code and your queries be available, I believe this month, APIs, and being able to have a I need a job rec API and have that surface for you instead of having to look through 5,000 APIs. And then the first half of next year, there'll be Copilot is expanding even more to orchestrate. A lot of the investment inside of Extend Professional is making this more of a platform tool for you to utilize. In the next slide. All right, and with that, I'm going to pass it off to Intercrowd to really talk about the value they've seen in retail and hospitality and common areas with Extend.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Amy. So I'm here to talk briefly about some of the experience that we have with our Extend customers, and then specifically Extend customers in the retail hospitality space, as Amy mentioned. But for those of you that don't know who we are and why we may have some expertise in this area, we were originally founded as an integrations-focused firm back in 2014. We're celebrating our 10-year anniversary this year, and we were also one of the first Extend partners that Workday allowed in the circle of trust. So we've had a long time with this technical expertise. We've seen a lot of applications. We've built a lot of applications, and we frequently are subcontracted to Workday for this particular expertise. So we are excited to share, hopefully get the creative juices flowing, talking through some of the apps that we've built, how we go about supporting clients when they don't know what to build, in order to generate ideas. Because oftentimes we see Extend as this very large ocean because it's a truly customizable process that a lot of clients say, hey, we would love to do more, but we don't necessarily know it's too large to get our arms around. So hopefully this gives you some ideas, some ideas of what other customers are doing, what we've done with other customers, potentially jog some ideas. Maybe you guys have been kicking around ideas around Extend, but not really sure where the entry point is for you. So hopefully this will generate some thoughts on that. One thing that we offer, that we found a lot of success with, is with clients that come to us and say, hey, we love Extend. Workday has been really pushing Extend. Like Amy mentioned, it's at the forefront of rising every year for the last couple of years, and it enables customer level customization of our particular tenant. So how do we go about that? We have all of these ideas, as Amy mentioned. We have all of these sort of third party add-ons that are very unique to our specific business. How do we go about prioritizing those? How do we go about developing or starting to develop those conversations internally around the ROI we can potentially generate from these applications? And one thing that we offer is an Extend accelerator. So what we do with that is really just kind of a spread out workshop session around discussing with our expertise, but also your initial ideas. Maybe you guys we've had some customers that come to us and say, hey, we have 25 ideas for applications. How do we narrow this down? What can we consolidate? What would be that low hanging fruit that we can get immediate ROI for our stakeholders? And then what can we expect with our larger, longer term roadmap type items with Extender? How do we co-develop? So maybe we can learn from you on the first couple apps that are more low hanging fruit, and how do we extend that no pun intended, how do we extend that knowledge to those larger items down the road and get ourselves ready for self-sufficient extend priority. So the way that we approach this is with a workshop where we discuss all of these ideas. We take them back, help scope out the initial cost of these ideas to help generate those ROI or those budget discussions, and then finally give you a presentation of findings. A recent example of this that we did with a customer, as I mentioned, they came in with 25 potential use cases, which is great, but definitely not the norm. We have some customers that come in and say, hey, we don't have any ideas, right? We're looking to you to come in and help us figure out, this is our business, this is what we do. Can you potentially show us some ways that we can innovate on that, or some ways that we can customize Workday via extend to our specific business? And this particular customer, we helped them through the workshop talk through the use cases you see on the bottom left. We narrowed those down to a top 5 based on value and feasibility. And then we sort of helped them present that to their stakeholders in terms of ROI and in terms of initial cost. And the ultimate findings were that investing around a person year of consulting time could save up to 20 years of person years annually, based on implementing that ROI from the app. Not only that, in addition to that, we also have experience, as I mentioned, with specific apps, right? So this comes from some Workday data that we borrowed for this presentation, and we sort of tried to match up what Workday has found is the most requested hospitality retail areas and some of the apps that we feel are applicable. And you'll hear more about some of these today with Marjack and Innisfree. But just to sort of talk broadly and try to generate those ideas, again, I'm going to pick and choose a few of these that we can talk through. But hopefully, we'll send this presentation out. Hopefully this generates some ideas, because we found that these are pretty common asks, particularly in these industry verticals. So looking at the top left, jobs shift and vacation bidding is something that we've seen. A lot of retail and hospitality have, particular workers that have either varied schedules, seasonality around their workers, or they might be dealing with the unions in the case of manufacturing, as you dip more into that vertical. So the job shift and job bidding is something that we've actually presented to quite a few customers where, again, the individual customization is what comes in, where we can talk through specific union requirements or specific contractual requirements. Maybe you have contingent workers that need some specific contractual obligations that you need to fulfill in order to present those. But all of it is wrapped in this extend custom application that enables a seamless process of those custom processes for things like job bidding, bidding on open positions, bidding on open jobs, bidding on open shifts, bidding on open vacations. Another one that we've done a lot with is the scheduling and shift management. So this is something we've talked to a lot of customers about. It's something that we're still working with a lot of customers on. But this is enabling employees to swap shifts. This is enabling multiple different groups of employees, from, say, managers at the hotel to parking lot attendants to any different type of person that you have that may be on different schedules, maybe on different time or personnel payroll cycles or anything like that, enabling them to have a scheduling app that streamlines that, is available on the mobile application, and is able to be manager overruled, manager approved, all of that via a custom, as Amy mentioned, business process within Workday. And again, the key to these is generating the overall idea and then making it specific to an individual client, right? That's the beauty of Extend, is no longer do you have to fit your business into a pre-delivered business process that Workday has. We can customize that business process. We can customize that landing page. We can customize that user interaction to be exactly what you, the client, had in mind, what you, the client, needs, what supports your business, and what makes your business unique to you. Really the beauty of Extend. Another one in the top right that we see quite frequently, I was just on a call with an Australian client where they had a large selection of benefits that they were tracking through multiple third-party systems, and they were having a lot of trouble lining up those benefits with their terminations, right? So they had a large turnover due to seasonality every year, and they offered benefits such as discounts. Let's say, discounts at at a local grocery store, or even online purchasing, and they were not able to line up those discounts and the terminations that they had. So they had a lot of seasonal workers that were either continuing on with their loyalty program after they had been terminated, or they were not getting them in the first place because they had to mismatch all of these third-party applications with the HR system that they were using in Workday. So that was something that we discussed with them, and hopefully we'll be moving further. But again, just an example of something you can do with Extend, where you need to match up these third-party applications specific to their particular business. Finally, in the middle one, I want to talk about the middle bottom. Excuse me. I want to talk about promotion nomination, because this is something that we see quite frequently, and it transitions nicely into a built-in Workday, which I'm going to touch on in just a second. This application is by far our most asked for application we've seen, and that was the impetus for us developing a built-in Workday application for this particular Extend idea or pillar, if you will. A lot of customers have said, hey, the promotion nomination process that Workday delivers has some gaps in regards to our specific business. Can we do more? Can we have a more custom process? Can we have something that is more natural to the way that we have typically done business before Workday, or are doing things outside of Workday that we'd like to incorporate into Workday? So this is our response to that. So we saw this over and over and over again, and actually led to us developing a built-in Workday app, which we'll discuss in just a second what exactly that specifies. But this is something where a lot of clients were seeing a lot of friction or potentially extra workarounds that they had to do. It wasn't necessarily they had third-party applications all the time. Some of them did, but just something where they wanted a little bit more depth, a little bit more control, additional questions to be tracked and answered in Workday in regards to that promotion process. That now Extend not only allows them to have a custom business process for that, it also enables them to store that new data that they're asking around, say, for the level of expertise that a person has, or any other custom questions that they would have during that promotion process, is now reportable, and notably reportable upwards, not just a managerial applications as well. So with that in mind, I'm going to skip to, I'll get to work. I'm going to skip to what is built-in Workday, right? So this, as I mentioned, I want to touch on this briefly because we get a lot of questions around this. Built-in Workday versus Extend, and what is the difference? So in terms of the tactical experience around what is a built-in Workday app, it doesn't require the Extend SKU, and it doesn't add to your existing Extend SKU app limit, regardless of if you have Professional or Extend Basic. It's going to be a pre-packaged, so it's sort of a middle ground between a truly custom Extend process and your normal out-of-the-box Workday process. So in using the context of promotion nomination, it's sort of a middle ground that we offer a lot of clients, right? We've had certain clients that come to us and say, hey, we're interested in learning more about promotion nomination. What do you guys have that's existing? And that would be this built-in Workday app. And so typically these are significantly faster to deploy. They're based on an annual subscription. There's no sort of time and materials implementation. Thus, they can be implemented much faster. They don't require Extend, so it's a nice way to dip your toes into the Extend market, even though they are built using Extend technology. So again, it would be seamless, feels like Workday, looks like Workday, quacks like Workday, for lack of a better word. And then Extend over there on the left, as Amy mentioned, does everything, right? It is truly the white space filler. It can solve any problem that and look and feel and be seamless to that Workday, that traditional Workday experience. Just going to flash this again. We will send this out, but this is some of the applications that we have on built-in Workday, just to give you, again, trying to generate ideas and trying to generate thought process around, hey, what is actually out there? What Extend is this large, we can do anything with it, but what does that actually mean? Just flashing some of the ideas that we have, that we see quite frequently. These have all been developed at the behest of customers for the most part, or at the behest of Workday because they see gaps and ask us to help fill them. But just to try and generate those ideas of, what are some concrete things that Extend has done for other customers, and what are some concrete things that we can look for from Extend. And with that in mind, I'm going to pass it over to Brent and Marjack, our friends at Marjack, to talk even more specifically around how Marjack used Extend to enable their business.
Thank you, Ford. Hey, everybody. Brent Pappenfuss. I'm the manager of the Extend section here at Intecrowd. And joining me today, we have Eli and Allison from Marjack. Would the two of you like to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. I'm Eli Stenner. I work with Marjack and have been with them since 2019 and their go live.
Hey, I'm Allison Sullivan. I've been with Marjack since around 2020.
Awesome. I'm happy to have you both here. Fun fact about Marjack, when we're talking about Extend at Intercrowd and we're telling people about the possibilities, they are probably our most used example as far as how cool you can go with Extend, because a lot of use cases people talk about, there's a lot of repeatable patterns in Extend, right? Ford just shared a whole bunch of them. But one of the great things about Extend is that it's not just about adding functionalities that maybe everybody wants. What about the functionalities that just your company wants, that only would apply to someone like you? And Marjack has been a fantastic example of that, as they've come up with some really good ideas that really exemplify their creativity in addressing workflows and problems specific to them. So Eli, if you don't mind, can you just tell us a little bit about Marjack? And Ford, if you could skip forward 2 slides while she does that.
Sure. Marjack is a fully integrated poultry processor. So we own all of our own like hatcheries, feed mills, the whole 9 yards. And they've been in business since 1954.
Awesome. And you guys have been using Workday since 2019, is that right?
That is correct. We went live 2019.
Awesome. So after that go live and everything, I'm curious, what led you to the point where you first found out about Workday Extend?
So we were working with a deployment team and kind of still needed to figure out how to get poultry purchases and PPE or supplies into Workday as payroll inputs. And that was coming off of the historical system that we had. Basically, everybody moved to paper in the interim. So we were pretty desperate to find a solution.
Yeah, and that's exactly the type of thing we don't want when people come over to Workday, is to have them
Yes.
rely on paper and start writing things down another way, spreadsheets, whatever it might be. It's
Gotta love
not
the
great.
EIB. Yeah. Yep.
So that process that you're talking about there, what's the purpose of that? What's the actual intention of what this application would solve, and what you were doing before concerning these poultry orders?
So the poultry orders before were obviously this manual process of collecting the information for what each employee would want to purchase at a discounted price. And then that's all consolidated and provided to the particular plant to create that order. So it looks like an order to the plant, and it looks like individual receipts to the employee so that they can come pick up what they've paid for and then have it flow into payroll and just be deducted from their paycheck.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
And so once again, something that most companies don't deal with, right? Most people aren't offering their employees chicken to purchase directly out of their paychecks, right?
Correct. And also creating a plant order. So it's got to be both sides of that equation.
There you go. So when you were looking to automate that process, were there any other options you were looking at prior to Extend, or was that something that Extend was always the key solution for?
I think we poked at some other things, but couldn't figure out a great way to make it actually be feasible to be the solution. And that's when Extend kind of was brought up, and once we explored it, it made complete sense to go that direction and have it integrate right into Workday and be seamless to everybody who processes payroll.
For sure. So once you solidified that you'd be moving forward with Extend and you got that engagement going, at that time, Extend was still very, very young. Not many people were using it. And I recall going back through that poultry app, because I wasn't there for that initial implementation, but going back and seeing how different things were was it was pretty surprising to see how much you were able to do with the resources that were available back then. Obviously things have changed now, but when you first were putting that idea together in using Extend as it was, how did things evolve or change through your ideation, design, build, and testing? What kind of process was that?
So we've actually got two apps with you all. The first, the poultry app, pretty straightforward in terms of what its capabilities were and what we needed out of it. And that's pretty much held kind of throughout the years. The other app, we did the first iteration. We found a few things that just from when we went to production, it wasn't anything wrong with the app, but how the process needs to move in the plant necessitated us to revisit a few things. And now that we've kind of done a few iterations over the years, I feel like we do a release a year with this one, but we're allowed to dream a little bit, if you will. So we've gone from them manually keying some stuff into Workday to now we're using badges to scan. It's allowing them to do a lot of, we can track free things that we give to an employee, and we can also track all the things that need to be charged to an employee and come up with kind of a consolidated look and feel of usage. So it's blown out the reporting that we also have the capability of doing too. And it just gets easier the more and more we've kind of dreamed about it and allowed, more development to happen.
That's been one of my favorite things about seeing the way that you approach Extend apps is that you guys don't just get it and they're like, okay, that's it, we're done. Here's our app, we're going to use it now. You guys get it and you're like, okay, great, that's working, that's doing something. Now let's add more functionality to that. Let's do more with it. You're always thinking of what else can it do to make things easier for everyone, which is a really cool thing about Extend. It doesn't just have to be a one and done app. Was that something that was in your mind from the beginning of these apps, that you knew that you wanted to start with something and then build upon it later on?
I don't know that on version 1 that's our initial thinking, but kind of as we reapproached the app in version 2, it's now become, we just keep adding to it. And the reason for the ad really is to build efficiency. Like, we're just getting faster with it. We're putting more into responsibility into the employees' hands. We've got to process X number of people through a line and give them all the supplies that they need in X amount of time in order to get them onto the floor. And we've just been able to make it faster and more efficient, not only for the employee, but also for the clerk who's on the other side of it, handing everything out. So.
For sure. And with those employees and the rest of your workforce working with these applications, what kind of feedback have you gotten about the poultry app and about the supplies app?
So I think the most satisfying feedback I've received was we have a clerk who has been doing this for 20 years, and it was muscle memory for her in the original app, which was green screen, by the way. So as we've evolved, we just get all sorts of feedback by how quick and efficient and easy this is for her, because she's just doing clicks on a screen. We went to a touch screen as part of one of our enhancements. And so she's just really pleased with how fast and efficient it is, and it's visual. So we went from green screen, and one of the enhancements was pictures of the PPE. And so you don't even have to be able to really process what you're looking for on a screen. You're just looking for a picture and click, click, click. So tons of feedback from the clerks.
That's great. Yeah, to give people an idea of what they're working with over there in their supplies app, to show you how big Marjack can dream here, they basically created a full-on shopping cart for people to use, for people to just go through, add items to the shopping cart, and then check out right in there. And it's all initiated, like Eli said, from scanning a badge up front. During development, we actually had one of our developers sent one of those badge scanners to help ensure that it would work properly and everything. And there's a lot of different ways that you can incorporate Extend, and it's really cool to see the way you guys are thinking of it, because even though the apps themselves may not translate well to other industries directly, a lot of those types of functionality certainly can, because there are definitely other cases where badge scanning may be helpful, where shopping carts may be helpful, where doing unique kinds of payroll calculations would be helpful. There's all sorts of things that work within Extend across industries, even when we have these unique cases like this. Eli, what would you say would be your favorite feature that you guys have incorporated across either of these applications?
My favorite feature, I think, has been, as we've kind of gone through the versions that we've all met and kind of had the let's dream a little bit, like what could we get this to do? So as Extend's even evolved over the years, now we're even considering things like employee self-service. So that is huge leap forward, I think. And those kind of changes and the fact that we're kind of get to keep looking at it is probably my favorite part.
Absolutely. Yeah, anything where we can get the individual tasks into the hands of the people that should be initiating them, taking out those extra steps of having people gather that information first beforehand and just leaving it in the responsibility of the individual rather than having to break it out into higher level roles. It really does help streamline things along. So no, that's a great example of that. So when you guys are thinking about these applications, you have these two right now. What's your general process for thinking up your next use cases? What are you going through to figure that out, whether it's brand new apps or additions to the existing applications?
So we may get requests of things that we need it to do. Um, and then I think it's also kind of looking at where Extend has gone. So since we were kind of real early to the whole thing, Extend has changed. So for us, I think the process is just to kind of stop for a minute, reevaluate kind of where the population's at. Employee self-service wouldn't have been on the radar 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So it's looking at that, looking at need. Do we need to do different things than we've been doing it? And then kind of our overall prioritization of what we want to do inside of Workday. But
That's
these
great.
are important to and are front facing to the employees. So it usually gets priority.
That's great. Yeah, doing something that helps the company as a whole, the individuals. It's the dream of Extend. It was what you guys are doing there. So, Eli, thank you so much for taking the time to go through a few questions with us. That was super enlightening. And yeah, appreciate you guys being on this call.
Thank you.
Yeah. Amy, I'll go ahead and pass it on over to you.
Thanks. Let's go to the next slide. So another longtime customer here today is Innisfree. We go to the next slide. So they weren't quite as early as Marjack and Extent, but still very early. Excited to be here with Josh Heron, Director of Platform Technologies and Business Intelligence. I'll go ahead and let Josh introduce himself a little bit in his role at Innisfree.
Hey, Josh. My title's long. It just basically means I manage a lot of Workday and other tech at Innisfree.
All right,
Good.
and sorry, Ford, can you go to the next slide while Josh kind of talks a little about Innisfree and
Yeah, absolutely. So we are primarily a beach hotel and resort ownership and management company. You can see the stats here. We're considered a medium to large size company in our industry, about 2,400 employees. And we are Workday full platform. We got all of it, and we really have a concentrated effort on our investment to take advantage of everything Workday has to offer, including Extend.
Oh yeah. One thing we worked with Josh and Innisfree in the past that kind of stood out is there's a lot of complexities in the organization between just the franchises, the branded properties, the various data silos you have. Could you speak a little bit about how Extend has kind of helped supporting some of the unique complexities that you have in your business?
Yeah, absolutely. And Ford, you can click through to show these.
Great.
So we have quite a few things in our industry that will sound familiar to people in our industry and other industries where you have franchises or multi-location units. So we operate out of four silos essentially. Hotels operate almost encapsulated on their own and have to manage it that way. So we try to provide support from an enterprise level with Workday and make their job as efficient as possible. We're a fun company and we want our employees to have fun so that our guests can have fun and that sort of generates profits. So we try to take all that admin work in Workday and make it as efficient as possible. Complex integrations due to brand requirements and due to other parts of our tech stack, which is quite complicated. And then just geography, right? Like we've got hotels sort of all over a region and trying to handle change management can be quite challenging.
Thanks, Josh. So just if we can kind of go through to the next slide, you'll hear about more of the stories and what those complexities look like for the employees. So Industry started off with Extend inside of a more financial use case. We're gonna in a moment pivot to the HR ones, but could you really just take us through a little bit about your decision in purchasing Extend with that first use case? You mentioned the kind of introduction of always leading with, can we do this in Workday? Let's try to do that there. So I'd love to hear about this use case and some of the decisions that went with going down Extend.
Absolutely. So we were a Fins first Workday customer. We went live on Fins in 2020 and then went live on HCM in 2021. And during the process of going live with financials, we knew that we had multiple PMS, property management systems, multiple point of sale systems across our company, and we wanted to get that data in there. And our industry requires basically we do that nightly. We do cash flow daily, and so there's a lot of data that's coming in that has to be reviewed quickly and has to be reported on extremely quickly. And so we knew that we wanted to build out this app, as it were, to be that interface between all the different systems. And we started on some discovery, and we landed on a solution with Extend, Accounting Center, and Prism. And it provides a very seamless process directly in Workday for the employees. The employees are already in Workday, so it's easier for them. And it makes it the same across all hotels so that no matter which hotel they're at, it's a similar experience, and we can utilize that sort of same experience for using them at different hotels if need be.
Oh, yeah. So like industry came out pretty hard here with that quintessential Workday build use case. You have integrations, you have Prism, you have Extend. One thing that stood out in this one as well, it's the way you kind of batch process this, that if there's a hurricane in one region, you're not having downstream impacts. I myself am Floridian, so very familiar with that. But you went out, a lot of customers, we kind of think about where can you get that value and really kind of get started to build up these use cases. Industry started out big. And now really show you have already demonstrated that value of extend the organization, and now you have some areas to kind of put into your HR strategy. Can you take us through time to go through some of these HR use cases and how they relate to your workforce, or double click a bit more into that last one, but we'd love to hear of some of the other ones on the roadmap.
Absolutely. So for us, we have multiple hotels and restaurants and entertainment facilities in the same market sometimes. And so often we share employees, but oftentimes employees are just doing another job within the same location. A room attendant becomes a public area attendant, right? And so we wanted it to be easy and not as cumbersome. As easy as Workday is, we're like, oh, this can be even faster, right? Because the job's the same, pays the same, all these things. And so Extend was sort of a natural thought process of, oh, well, it's a streamlined thing. We can pre-populate fields with Extend and just wham bam. So that's one that's like right here for us. Quick Add Learning is similar. So we have learning with our brands, and then we have learning with Innisfree, and it's different types of learning. We can't really integrate with brand systems. They don't often allow that because it's their system, Hilton, Marriott, and so forth. But we needed a way to track that in one place, which would be Workday. And so building out an app that allows us to just quickly add that learning. We already know it's done, and the hotels can manage that themselves. So almost as it were, self-service for the hotels. And then lastly, sort of a favorite that I'm working on is a team member travel program. And I guess we can talk a little bit more about that.
Let's go to the next slide. So, Josh would go on a bit more. Oh,
Oh, back one.
sorry, we got a little excited there. He'll go a little bit more into this one, but when talking with Joshua's travel program, they're doing 400, 600 annual reservations a year, and like I'm sure, just like most of us, like that to me, that just screams extend. So we take a little bit through the program, the benefit to your employees, and kind of like some of the blockers right now where Extend's looking to fit.
Absolutely. So we have multiple brands and we have multiple brand travel programs for employees. The problem is, only the Hilton employees get access to the Hilton ones. Well, we're Innisfree, and so we wanted to give our employees access to all of our hotels, regardless of the brand or independent or whatever. It's really difficult to build a system that can handle the distribution of all that, if not sort of impossible at times. And so the process right now is on paper/email. You can see the little path here. An employee asks their manager, asks their manager, asks this manager, and then it flows back down. So it tends to be a little cumbersome, and it leaves it open for issues, right? And errors, and just if there's a forgotten thing. And so one thing that strikes with me, I used to work in operations in our company, is you'd hate the thought of an employee with their family going to take a vacation that they've earned, and they get to the hotel and there's no reservation for them, right? Because someone forgot to tell someone something. Well, building it in Workday, it occurred to us that we have all the data, we know the employees, they're right there, we know their manager, we know the upstream and downstream. And so let's build an app that not only streamlines these approval flows and comes back and notifies the employee, but also it gives us the ability to do like native reporting right there so that at any given time, an employee at a hotel can look and see, here's the employee reservations for this hotel. There's no questions. If something does get missed, it's like, oh, I need to take care of this, right? And so really ultimately taking care of our employees in a streamlined fashion.
Oh, And we talk about extent those tangible benefits of the better experience for the employees, being able to have an audit trail, cut this out. But additional benefits is we took this process that went from 7 people just to 3 with Extend. So there's other 4 people that used to be involved in this. They aren't making the calls, sending the emails. They're able to have more time to focus on what's critical to the mission. If you go to the next slide, just kind of wrapping up, there are a lot of properties at Innisfree. They have a really unique workforce. Job mentioned some of those quick job creates, but one thing that really stood out to me is for their complexities, the data silos, their IT, the size of your IT team, Josh. So if you just kind of wrap us up a little bit,
Yeah.
what are some lessons learned or some of your best practices you've learned through having a small team for implementing Extend?
Absolutely. You can see some of the complexities in hotels. We're open 24/7, 365. We never close. And so it introduces levels of complexity. Plus, our tech stack's quite complex. It's over 120 platforms. We only have 2 IT team members across our company, myself and the director of IT. And for any implementations we've done, we've never had more than 4. So it's very lean. You can go to the next slide if you'd like. And some of the things that I look for as such a lean and small team, and a lot of times it's just me, is support and things that Workday already provides. The marketplace and the app catalog is a great place to not only get inspiration, but sort of kickstart your journey. Community support, obviously, Workday, it's amazing. And you can reach out and connect through Workday, through the community itself, and find other people to talk with and to share ideas and to get information. And then using the tool set within Extend, it's grown in the years that we've been using it so much. These AI tools, Illuminate, it's unbelievable what Extend can do for you now that you don't have to be a coder. You can get in there and start playing and try to create the apps that are good for your company and on the periphery of what you think you could do. Think about that and jump into the tools.
No, thank you so much, Josh, and thank you so much to Marjack for being here with us. Really, these are great examples that we've seen, really making it easier for the employees, easier for the workforce. Just to wrap us up, I'm going to pass it over to Brad with Workday.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. So hi, everyone. My name's Brad Kovacic. I lead our customer base team in the Southeast for Workday. I don't normally talk this fast, but we do have 1 minute left, so I'm going to try to speed through the wrap up here. I'm in my 8th year at Workday, and my team is responsible for about 100 Workday customers, including both Marjack and Innisfree. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you to Allison, Eli, and Josh for joining us today. We ask a lot of our customers, and they're always there willing to help us. Thank you for putting your trust in Workday and our tech stack to deliver these unique applications to your workforce. I did have a little Q&A I was going to do and have some fun with them. We don't have time for it, so I'm going to skip. If you guys do have any outstanding questions, please drop them in the chat, and we will collect them and follow up with you guys one-on-one. But you can see our contact information here for Stephen, Amy, and myself. Feel free to drop us an email anytime. We'll connect you with the right people at Workday and or at Intecrowd to make sure that you've got the right folks at your there at your fingertips to help you kind of build these solutions out. So I'm going to close us with one final thought, and it's kind of a bold statement, but I hope you guys are okay with it. To me, the time to act on this is now, right? Like, your competition is not waiting, right? The retail, hospitality, and sports industries are kind of at an inflection point. A lot of our customers are struggling with fragmented systems. They've got manual processes, but then we've got industry leaders like Lowe's and Lifetime and Home Depot, who we put up on slides everywhere, but even lesser known entities that are much smaller, which with much leaner IT staffs. Like, it's still mind blowing to me that Josh and one other person run everything for Innisfree and how innovative they are. So kudos to you, Josh. Are able to do this with Extend. They're forward thinking, right? They're not waiting around, and they're providing this awesome employee experience for the most important people in their industry, which are their frontline workers. Home Depot, this stat blows me away every time I hear it. Home Depot retired 22 HR applications and brought all that into one Extend app, and they saved 27,000 hours just by doing that. Like I said, your frontline workforce are the most important part of your organization. They're the heartbeat of your customer experience, and they deserve better than the outdated, disconnected, I'll say the the green screens of the world, right? That Marjack had been used to. And I think that their experience is only as strong as your customer experience is only as strong as the employee experience behind it. So the question isn't to me like whether you will modernize your workforce technology, it's whether you're going to lead this transformation for your company or the company's going to get left behind because everyone else is doing that. So once again, thank you all for coming today. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Intecrowd, especially for hosting. And once again, Innisfree and Marjack for spending time with us today. Hope you guys all have a great day, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Thanks all.